Welcome to the Princess Experience. So I'm your host, Kieran Haslam, and this series continues to bring you a behind-the-scenes look at Princess, given the limitations that we can't travel the world and interact with you at boat shows. And in this particular episode, we're going to focus on the all-new Y72 Princess. We're going to take you through an exclusive walkthrough of the Y72 mock-up with Ross Gill, Andy Lawrence and Pete Cullum. We'll also be exploring the first Y72 in build with Gareth Sandy. We're going to rediscover our sailing history with Bill Barrow, and Alison Thompson is going to talk to us a little bit about the award-winning Princess Apprentice scheme. Now, don't forget that at the end of this episode, we're going to be hosting an exclusive webinar, and the details on how to register for that webinar are on screen. So for the first look at the all-new Y72, we're going to join Ross Gill on the main deck of the Y72 mock-up.
So welcome to South Yachts and to the Ropery. Now we're very fortunate at Princess Yachts to have this building. You may hear a bit of background noise, that's because we have a tin roof and it's typical Plymouth weather and pouring with rain outside, so apologies for that. But we make a full-scale mock-up in plywood of every boat we build. And that's from the smallest boats all the way up to the largest in the range. And that gives us the ability to work out those minor details, how high settees should be, how you flow for a boat, what works, what doesn't work, in real life size. Computer models go so far, but we feel that touch and feel of getting on board the boats really gives us that extra advantage. Now, we're looking at the Y72 today, which is a brand new product, replacing the very successful 68 and 70. Now, those models were revolutionary for us. It was one of those first boats that we as salesmen could get on board and say nothing. The clients appreciated what the boat was, and you could sit back and they would almost buy the boat themselves. So this had a long way to go. The design team have worked really hard to try and achieve that, and I think you'll see as we go through the boat very successfully. So like I said, use your imagination. This is a plywood mock-up with foam, but I hope you see what we've tried to achieve. Find us on the aft deck, big seating. This is going to have a nice, can't see it in here, we've got a plastic roof above us, but it'll have a good overhang, giving plenty of shade to the guys who sit back here. Folding aft deck table. Staircase has been swapped round, so staircase up to the flybridge is on the port side. And then you go into what has now become quite a traditional area for us, is this bar set aft. So sliding 3-tier doors, moving in, and as you notice, one level. So unlike the 68 and the 70, you're going to have a one level, no steps at all in this boat, apart from the standard one step down into this galley, and that gives us enough room to put a full height refrigerator underneath those flybridge steps. Okay, nice bar area here. Becomes the heart of the boat, talking to your guests as you're serving. You can put a crew here if you want to keep the party going. Good size, plenty of under counter storage as well as the above counter. Sink, cooktop, you have a dishwasher under here, oven, everything you need to entertain and have those extended trips away. On the opposite side, we have the dinette. Again, folding table, plenty of storage underneath the seating, as well as plenty of seats for your guests to sit. One of the key elements we're trying to do on these boats now is access storage easier. So underneath here and into the saloon is going to be drawer storage. Here will be your crockery and cutlery storage under here. And then we move forward into what was a new for us on this size of boat is a bar unit. So 2 stools are optional here. So you can sit down and converse with your guests in the saloon, as well as people out on the aft deck. Right next to that will be a fridge and ice maker should you need them, as well as a place to make your drinks. Coming back into a large saloon with this big, you've got to use your imagination again. You're not going to be looking at an older wall, but a nice view out those windows. But this big seating, again, trying to emulate and improve what we had on the 68-70, and I think successfully we've done it. Again, storage underneath all those seats on pull-out drawers. Nice design cues underneath the helm position. And over to this side, quite a lot of design gone into this 2-seater. Your pop-up TV will be on this side, so the guys over here can watch a movie at night. Moving forward, nice helm position. Now, I'm not the tallest person in the world, but you can see above my head, you've plenty of room there for the taller person to stand here. Great visibility forward. Pop-out door to take you forward onto your Portuguese bridge. So you have a seating sun deck, not the plywood you can see today, but again, use that imagination and you can see a real nice view up there. Integrated glass bridge. So you've got 3 screens up here, should you want to. Easy layout to get to all the navigation. Lots of new design language that the guys have put into here. So nice curve and flows that we really first saw probably on the V55 and the 85 coming through the entire boat. Step down over into the other side. And this was very, very popular on the 68, having that seating where you could converse with the person driving, but you also have that view out as well as a lovely view back through the boat. Good little cubby hole, drinks holder underneath, and then should you want to, we've got a little pull-out table now used for snacks or for drinks, or even as a little workstation if you wanted to have an office with a view. Moving forward, guest accommodation. So steps down to 3 cabins down there, so separate for your guests. And then moving aft, opposite way to the 68 and 70, staircase down into the master cabin. I hope you've enjoyed having a look around this mock-up and use your imagination as well as possible. A bit later on, we're going to have Andy Lawrence, our Director of Design, and Pete Cullum, our Creative Designer, to go through the boat in a bit more detail. Thanks very much.
And don't forget, if you would like to find out more, we have a webinar at the end of this episode. The details of how to access that webinar are on screen presently. And now we're joined by Bill Barrow. Bill, welcome.
Kieran, great to be here.
Both you and I spend a great deal of time at boat shows around the world. At those boat shows, we'll stand up and talk to a lot of journalists and a lot of media. And I distinctly recall a moment where I was standing alongside you at a press conference a few years ago, where a journalist asked us about sustainability in the yacht world, and when will we actually start to be able to embrace some of the technology such as hybrid and the rest of it. And I made a rather flippant, tongue-in-cheek, cheeky comment actually, which was actually we've been all about sustainability for hundreds and hundreds of years because our origins, incredibly, much to people's surprise, are in sailboats as well as motor yachts. And you know firsthand so much about that journey that I wanted you to talk to us and to our viewers a little bit more about what that actually is and what have we made.
You know, it's a really good point, Kieran. It's forgotten about so often. So many of our customers only think of Princess as being Princess.
Yeah, motor yachts.
Motor yachts, you know, blue sea, boat powering across the water. And obviously our origins back into the 60s were around powerboats with, you know, the 25, Project 31, that type of boat. But a lot of people forget that in the early 70s, 1972, you know, the time of the world fuel shortage, huge amount of foresight with David King and the business into sailboats. So we formed an alliance with the Moody family and we built Moody sailboats. And that started in 1972 with a Moody 33. Phenomenally successful, a bit like Project 31 was to powerboats.
Yeah.
The Moody 33 was exactly the same sailboats, huge volume, fantastic value, and an absolutely great boat.
And not just a few Moody sailboats.
No.
We actually made a heck of a lot of boats
We
that
did.
were sailing boats, didn't we?
We did. So we started in 72 and we ran from 72 all the way through to 2004, 2005. Hugely successful. I
mean, in numbers, Bill, what are we talking about? How many boats did
we built around about 7,500 sailboats.
Wow.
In our time.
Yeah.
But besides building Moody, we also built a brand called Sigma.
Yeah.
And Sigma was a hugely popular one design race boat. And that ranged from 29 right up to just over 40 feet, 400. Very, very successful boats in their time. And you know, right up until about 5 years ago, you could find 50 or 60 of them in a one design start line in Courtweek in Ireland. You know, still phenomenally successful.
Yeah.
You know, considering how old they are today. So I think we're incredibly lucky today because we've encompassed all that design, if you like, all that detail, all that experience of structure, and that has washed down today into what we build today.
Yeah.
So if you talk to our engineering department about structure, strength, building a boat, we're not only narrow-minded at what we're looking at as this is all we've ever built as a powerboat. We have a huge amount of knowledge out of what we've built in sailboats in the past.
Yeah. And finally, Bill, you know, incredibly, everything goes round in circles. You never know. We may be sitting here in a few years' time talking about our latest Princess, and it may be a sailboat. You never know.
Well, who knows? You know, the world's a strange place, and things do change. I think it's highly unlikely that we as a manufacturers would go back there. It's a great bit of history. It's certainly helped us on the journey that we've been through, and
it's part of who we are.
It's part of who we are, and it's a great bit of history, and it's also part of our understanding. And I think, you know, that's a great feature, because anybody that touches us hopefully realises that we do know what we're talking about.
Yeah, great. Bill, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We're going to have you talking to us about all sorts of other things as the episodes continue in the series, and taking us through different areas of the business as well, and exploring our past as much as our future. So thank you very much, Bill, for being here.
Really look forward to it. Thank you, Kieran.
And now we're going to go back to the Y72 mock-up, but this time with Andy Lawrence and Pete Cullen.
Okay, and you join us here in the lower master cabin of the Y72. You arrive down a separate staircase from the main deck into your own private lower lobby. Washing machine and tumble dryer, traditionally outside of this cabin, has moved forward into the main guest thoroughfare passageway, which frees up a lot of space here. So you now have your own linen store or large storage space dedicated to this cabin. Now, the Y72 is the introductory boat into the Y-class range, so it steps up quite considerably from the outgoing F70, which is the top of the Princess Flybridge range. Now, when you move up into the Y-class range, it takes quite a significant step up in specification and look and feel, and also layout. One of the significant layout changes is the position of the bathroom and the dressing area in this cabin. So on the F70, it was ahead of the bed in the corner. Now this follows the rest of our range from the Y-class, basically from 70 feet up, where that bathroom moves in behind the bed. So you access it through here into your own dressing area, just following on from the dressing table behind me. You've got a nice set of drawers, mirror, large storage wardrobe outboard here, and then through into the bathroom with a huge shower, big windows. So a large part of that escalation into the Y-class range is the character of the boat and the way we portray that in the interior and exterior design. And the character and the feel is where Pete's been working very hard over the last few months.
So the first thing that you'll notice in this cabin is there's some very striking features that we brought down from the Y85. For instance, the slatted headboard feature, which will have a really nice soft material next door to it. When you get into a Y-class boat, there's a lot of attention to detail as well. So, for instance, on the vanity table, we've got this chamfered edge detail, which is upholstered in really nice leather. It's got a lovely stitch feature along the top of it. Also, we've got this really nice bookcase, which is also upholstered on the inside. In fact, generally speaking, the cabin will get a lot more upholstery than it would from an F-class boat. Moving on to the forward bulkheads, we've obviously got the TV here, but around that we've got a really nice wallpaper, which is, again, it's a really nice, soft, natural feeling, almost like a linen, basically. And this really nice, soft, upholstered stateroom sofa as well. In terms of the material palette, we're looking at plush leathers, we're looking at softer fabrics, and a very light and airy interior, so it feels very spacious and very inviting. Andy, what do you think? I don't know how we could cope without these mock-ups.
Well, that's right. I mean, we have so much data around us and experience in the team and the office of how to create these layouts. We've got a lot of boats in the range. We know what dimensions work for a bed. We know what dimensions work for a headlining or a gap at the end of the bed.
But there's something about actually being able to stand on a mock-up and walk around the space and interact with each other on these spaces. You actually get to feel how, potentially how the boat's going to be used and how it's going to feel in operation. So in some ways it feels like an indulgence, but it really is an integral part of the process. And we always make changes from the mock-up, don't we? As much time as you spend on CAD with sketchwork and with your drawings, reviewing materials, all the spaces, and you think you've got it absolutely right. But when you're here, you can always make something better. You can always make it better. Isn't that right? And then Pete, really, from the spatial aspect, we then start to work on the detail work and actually, how you're going to get manufacturing involved in the process. They'll come and assess this, whether it's not just from a design point of view, but from manufacturability. How are we actually going to make these slats? How do we assemble them? How do we get them to the boat? How do you handle the parts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing spinning a model around on screen and getting an idea of the proportion and the perspective and the balance of materials that you have. But when you actually come into a space, physical space, and you can interact with it, you're not looking through this little letterbox that you had previously. You actually get to feel the proportions and really understand them. It's not two-dimensional anymore.
So the all-new Y72, a very exciting addition to the product lineup at Princess, and we will join Gareth Sandy shortly to have a look at the first build of the Y72. But before that, our apprentice program has recently received a Royal Award, and we thought we'd take this opportunity to meet some of our really engaging and dynamic apprentices.
From a very young age, I realised that I wanted to be an engineer. I was doing my A-levels, and then towards the end of the year I started to struggle a bit. Sort of found that the A-level route wasn't for me in the end.
When I left school, I wasn't really sure what to do. My dad suggested to go and work for Princess Yachts. When I looked into it, they paid really well for an apprenticeship. They look after you really well, their training's really good, and it's very stable.
I wanted a trade because my dad always said to me, if you get a trade, you can do anything you want. It was what gave me the boost to want to apply to Princess.
I wanted to do an apprenticeship at Princess because I've always been interested in boats, so when I got the opportunity to get a career behind me and learn some skills, I was like, yeah, sign me up.
I was originally at college studying my business administration level 2, and then I decided that I wanted to get an apprenticeship because I wanted to work at a team, so I chose Princess Yachts.
We get trained by some of the best in the business here at Princess, and this training is one-to-one, so it's very focused. You pick up stuff really quickly.
Princess Apprenticeship Scheme is very structured. You know exactly what you're doing. Really, I only applied for Princess because that is the sole place I wanted to go.
It looks quite daunting when you first walk in and see an 85-foot boat in front of you, but everyone's there for each other. We're a team. We get along really well.
There's always someone that's done it before, and you won't be the first person to get stuck.
It's loud and cheerful. That is the way that I would describe the atmosphere of my line.
Yeah, I think everyone fits into Princess Yachts because we're like a big family. Everyone takes everyone under their wing.
At Princess there are so many opportunities. You could start off at the bottom and easily work your way up to being a team leader, being a charge hand, being even something higher.
This is a very good company for internal promotions and working your way through the ranks. It's actually encouraged.
You've also got opportunities to travel the world. Wherever there's a Princess boat, there's work there. Japan, America, Mexico, Greece, all over the world really.
I'm really glad I did the apprenticeship with Princess Yachts. I started off as like a young lad, not really having a clue what I was doing. So now being a young man, and I've got a really good trade behind me that I could take anywhere I wanted.
This apprenticeship not only gives me good recognised qualifications, but it's also given me invaluable skills such as leadership skills, time management skills. I'm able to work in a team really well.
I have learned every aspect of carpentry within Princess and massive gains in people skills. I've become more understanding I've been able to deal with people and situations a lot better, and that is all down to the people that I work with and the way that my apprenticeship was laid out for me.
If you're looking at an apprenticeship with Princess, I'd go for it and apply. Princess is a great company to work for. You can have so many opportunities.
You can start your career from scratch and work your way up and ultimately build your life within Princess.
I think the apprenticeship was 100% the best decision I ever made.
Why wouldn't you want to work at Princess Yachts?
So we're here with Alison Thompson, who's our Head of Learning and Development at Princess Yachts. Alison, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening in our world and mostly about our apprentice program.
So yes, it's a really exciting time for us now, Kieran. We started our apprenticeship program in 1997 with just 5 apprentices to where we are in 2020 with our largest intake. This year we took on 600, sorry, not 600.
Could take on 600.
If only we had the room, yes. We took on 66 apprentices, and that was the first for us. We have just launched our level 3 composites apprenticeship as well. So that means our 3 main technical trades against each of our boats is now covered, and we are looking now to make sure the business is not just fit for now, but fit for the future.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And, you know, one of the things which I'm really passionate about and really excited about is how we add value through diversity. And, you know, this is a male-dominant industry, the marine sector, but I'm blown away by our latest apprentice intake. Can you talk to the viewers a little bit about some of the figures and what's happening there?
Sure. So the last year we made a concerted effort to get our message far and wide across lots of different diverse groups. So this year we had over 500 applications, and we have an awful lot of female applications this year. And for the first time ever, I was really proud to see that we had female applications against every single one of our trades, which makes a huge difference to us. So this year there was a 25-75 split, and for me that makes it a real possibility to have a 50-50 split in the marine industry going forwards. And that really is one of our key objectives for next year and the year after.
Many of our viewers no doubt will be interested in either themselves becoming an apprentice with Princess or they may know somebody who might be interested. What are some of the areas that they can join on as an apprentice?
So in terms of the apprenticeships that we offer everything from a level 3 to a level 7, so you can actually go as far as your MBA under the apprenticeship scheme. We offer marine engineering, boat building, composites. We also do things like logistics, health and safety, HR, IT, and some of the business roles across the business as well. So for the first time, I think the business is realising that actually to take an apprentice is a great way forward because it's bringing in innovation and fresh thinking into our business. You know, and as we know, we ourselves are very innovative in our boat building, so we should be the same in our apprenticeship programme as well.
You've told me once before about a particular apprentice line of 3 generations. Do you want to go into a little bit of that?
Certainly. So this year we interviewed the grandson of someone who was interviewed and employed by David King, right at the beginning. So we have, within our apprenticeship scheme, we have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, sons, daughters, and then, you know, as we work through the Princess chain, we have the grandparents and the parents, and then the child. So we have 3 generations within Princess Yachts, which is great.
If somebody's interested, what's the ideal time to get in touch, and what does the window of apprentice program look like for interested parties?
That's a great question. So while we've just inducted our brand new apprentices in September, our application window for 2021 starts in November. So the window is from November through to the 31st of March. You can download an application form on our main Princess Yachts apprentice website, send it through to us, and then we'll start putting you through a series of assessments. We'll look to interview in May next year, ready for you to start your programme in September.
Great. Alison, thank you very, very much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
And if anyone would like to find out more about apprenticeships or careers at Princess, the details are on the screen. And now we have a really exciting moment as we go over to Gareth, who's on board the build of the first Y72.
So here we are on hull number 1 of the Y72 down here in Unit 10 at our headquarters in Newport Street. It's a hive of activity here today behind me. There's lots and lots of work going on, so pardon the noise. But as you can see, here we are in the cockpit, and it's really taking shape. This boat's now been in build for 4 weeks, and you can distinctly see some of the features the Y72 has to offer. You've got this really large U-shaped seating here on the cockpit sole, and you can see the first few steps that are going to make their way up to the flybridge. In a few weeks' time, we'll be seeing the canopy go onto the boat, and she's really going to start to take shape. As we move forward, you'll see here we've got a really large opening in the deck space here, which gives our engineers access to the engine room for all the fit-out work they're doing before the engines go in for their final fit, which is going to be happening very soon. And as we move forward through the boat, we're at the patio door about here, and then as I step into here, I'm in the dinette space, which is to starboard of the galley. And on the port side, you've got a very, very small step down into the galley space, where you'll find everything you're going to need in the galley of a 72-foot motor yacht. I'd like to point out that on this deck, everything is all on one level with the exception of the galley, which is a real step forward for the 70-foot flybridge. So as we move forward into the saloon area of the Y72, you can see the engineers are making great progress on running in all the looming, all of the pipe work for the split gas aircon system. There's 2 aircon systems available on this boat. You've got the standard system, which is good for ambient temperatures up to 40 degrees, and then the Gulf specification, which is good up to 50 degrees. So that's fantastic on a 72-foot yacht. And that really is something to say about this boat. It is a step away from the flybridge class and up into the yacht class. And you'll see that with some of the other features that you have seen today and through the rest of this boat. The helm station will be here at this raised level with dual seats, and it will be the first to offer the bonning control and monitoring system in the range. So 72 will be the smallest boat in the range that offers that, and that's a first for us, so that's a really big step forward as well. You've got the pop-out door here in the cutaway you can see in the deck house here, and that gives you an indication of just how big that door is going to be, which again on a 72-foot yacht is going to be fantastic for the operator or the crew that may be running the boat for the owner. On the port side here, you've got a 2-step raising to the L-shaped seat that faces forwards, and again that's raised purely to give you a fantastic view out of the windscreen, whether you're in port enjoying a cup of coffee or underway en route to your next destination. It also allows for some fantastic headroom down below. The staircase here is separate to the guest accommodation staircase and runs down to the master cabin, and you'll see that we've actually run this staircase forwards rather than aft, and that gives you plenty of volume in the master cabin, which on this boat is again really, really fantastic. And then much like our Y78, you've got a separate guest staircase which runs down to 3 cabins and 2 bathrooms down there, which will accommodate up to 6 guests in plenty of comfort. So as we stand here in the saloon, as I say before, all on one level, you can really start to get a feel for the view you're going to have outboard of this boat on both sides. So this is the starboard side behind what's going to be the U-shaped seating, and the buttress is very, very low with nothing to obstruct the view beyond it. So that's going to be, once this boat's on the water, I cannot wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic. And no different on the port side. We've currently got an S78 next to us here on the production line, but you can see just looking at the glass in the deck house of the S78 just how good it's going to be. And then you'll have on this side of the saloon, you'll have a pop-down TV which is 55 inches. Not much else to say on this deck at this stage. There's going to be a lot more to come soon once the deck house really starts to take shape around us. So the Y72, it's really pushing the boundaries and bringing the boat from a flybridge class boat into a Y class boat, which seems so strange to say on a 70-foot boat, but we've really managed to get a lot of features and really push the spec high on this model, and we think it's going to do really, really well.
We're now joined by Will Harrison of Oceanographic magazine, and Will, welcome.
Hi Kieran, nice to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you, Will, and it's a really exciting topic and discussion that we're going to have, because we're talking all about the first ever Ocean Photography Awards.
yeah, as you said, incredibly exciting. The Ocean Photography Awards for us have been, I guess, 18 months in the making, really. So to be now in that final stretch and knowing that the awards will be going live in a couple of weeks, we've had the submissions in and there's some really stunning photography in there, as well as some heartbreaking shots of the devastation that's hitting our oceans at the moment. And that is ultimately what the awards are about. It's both a celebration of this beautiful blue planet of ours, as well as a platform to showcase the devastating stuff that's going on as well.
Yeah, and I think, we're not ones to shy away from the state of affairs within our sector, within our industry. And obviously using motorized leisure craft brings a certain element to it, which is one that we don't want to deny, but we definitely want to address. And from your perspective, the Ocean Photography Awards is just one element of that journey. What else can you talk to us about in terms of oceanographics objectives?
Well, I mean, Oceanographic and the Photography Awards they're a singular entity, really. It's that that central message is still the same thing, and it ultimately boils down to connection. And our mission always is to reconnect people with the ocean in a meaningful way, whether that's through compelling storytelling through the magazine or through stunning imagery. And going back to those key topic areas, that's why we picked those three, because I think conservation more broadly, is about connection. It doesn't have to be just focusing on all the desperate stuff. Getting people excited and joyful about the ocean and connected with it, being on it, in it, under it, whatever that might be. That sense of adventure and exploration is critical to that long-term kind of conserving of the planet, and that's where adventure brands do play an important role. And I think with you guys, I think one of the things that I've always respected about Princess Yachts is the fact that you face it all head on. You're very aware of who you are and what you are as a brand, but where you want to go with that and your roadmap for achieving what you want to achieve.
And this year's a challenging year. It's racing away from us before our very eyes. But we're heading towards the culmination of all of your efforts and all of the entries. So tell our viewers just a little bit about how you're going to deliver the thunder.
Yeah, well, so we've got this amazing award show lined up, which is taking place on November the 19th. Obviously, we've had some pretty significant coronavirus-shaped hurdles to jump over this year. As you well know, Kieran, we were anticipating a physical event alongside the Thames in London, and that sadly had to be shelved. But we've put together something, I think, that really more than replaces what we were planning on doing there, and it's a hugely interactive, visually striking digital event which harnesses some virtual reality technology and lots of excitement around that. Got a beautiful website going live on November 5th, which will have all of the nominees for people to really enjoy that photographic feast, and then obviously we'll be announcing the winners on the 19th. And so, yeah, being able to share all those images with people in just a few weeks now is really exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Will, thank you. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. And there are many other projects that we're working on in the future, and I'm sure that we're going to have you back in another future episode of the Princess Experience. But once again, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Kieran. Cheers.
So that was Will Harrison of Oceanographic and the Ocean Photography Awards. Now, if you would like to participate in that evening, the details are on screen or in the description alongside the video, and we welcome your entries. And the spaces are limited, so we apologise that everybody who enters is not going to be able to receive access to it, but we do welcome your entries all the same. And now I'm joined by Andy Lawrence, who is our design director here at Princess, to answer a few questions that have come in from some viewers and to talk a little bit more about the Y72 and the mock-ups. Andy, welcome.
Hi Karen, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. And we are at this moment able to answer a whole bunch of questions which have come in relation to the Y72. And before we go into that detail, one of the viewers has actually asked a really specific question about the mock-ups, whether this is just a one-off or whether this is something that we do consistently at Princess, and what the point of the mock-up is. Do you want to talk a little bit about that from a design perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely not a one-off. You know, it's integral to the design process. It's so important. You know, we find that we've got years and years of experience designing boats, creating layouts. We've got a lot of product around us that we can measure, see how things feel. We know what we want to achieve when we start a new product. You know, but with all of the sort of computer-aided design equipment that we've got, we're looking at virtual reality to help us visualize spaces. You know, nothing quite feels the same as actually being able to walk around a space and touch and feel the kit, and walk into a room. How does it feel? Is the headroom too close to you? Are the doors too narrow? So I think with that, it's something we're not going to give up on. You know, the reason we do it is that we do make changes. Is that, you know, all of the good planning, no matter how much design work you put into it, when you mock it up and you walk into that space, you will improve it. And it's those small improvements that really make a Princess what it is. You know, we're going that extra mile to find the extra half-inch of space in every cabin.
And the mock-ups also afford us the luxury of interacting with clients very early in the design process, and also taking the feedback back into the system of design, which is fantastic. It means that we can respond to the market and respond to market wants and desires and trends. You know, if you have a look at the Princess design language, certainly over the last sort of 3 years, the direction that it's going in, to really sort of oversimplify it, what are some of the patterns that you're seeing? What are customers looking for, and what are we sort of focusing more and more on as we sort of go into the future of design at Princess?
We're really, really keen to just have our own distinct design language. We're not trying to copy anyone else. We want to stand out there. For us, the exterior of the boats are very clean, you know, very clean, easily recognisable, long lines, and a lot of surface development, which is, you know, why that collaboration has come about, to actually sort of really work and refine that exterior detail. Interior-wise, you know, we're well known for the amount of detail that we have inside the boat. And the interiors are, you know, they're soft, they're calm, they're inviting. You know, they're not square and angular and sort of jar. You know, they should just generally feel like a nice place. You know, a nice place to be, a nice place to spend time. So our focus is on doing more of the same. And detail. It's detail everywhere. That's what people, you know, really recognise.
We've taken some giant leaps forward with products like the X95. The Y72 is certainly a really interesting product which focuses on exterior areas as well. What are you doing in that area, and where do you think that will go?
Yeah, I think we need to be able to offer products that appeal to a world market. Everyone wants to use a boat in a slightly different way. So what we're trying to do is make it easy for us to offer different layouts within one product. So they're well considered, designed solutions to problems that we can offer as a standard offering to our customers, so they can personalise that boat to their own taste.
Great. And Andy, finally, do you have a favourite designer? Who is your favourite designer? I actually don't know the answer to that question. If you had to pick one person who's inspired you probably the most, whether it's from a separate industry altogether, who would that be?
I think for me, the thing that fascinated me growing up was watchmakers and the design of watches, and just the intricacy of detail that goes into, you know, a piece of artwork that's only this big. I think that's what we try to do, is actually look at that level of detail and understand how we can spread it over, you know, a big canvas, and then not to kind of overpower the overall feel.
Great. Andy, thank you very much for being with us today. It was great to have you. Andy's going to be joining us on our webinars, which take place after this episode. If you would like to join in on that webinar, the details are on the screen. And Andy, you're also going to be joining us for more episodes into the future of this series. So thank you very much.